Long time of preparation or what? Like, how did they get the soil to be like to this level?
Looks like they mix in mac nut waste into it.
Mac nut waste. Nice.
You know, I could get some in the front here, no?
Black gold.
It's not macadamia nuts here.
Yeah. All right, gather around. It's a small area. So, welcome to the everything but the seed portion of the Hawaii Hemp Conference. This is where we will plant, we will do everything and tell you everything that we've learned, some of us who've planted on the mainland, and except planting the seeds, because there isn't a state hemp program yet in Hawaii, but there will be soon. So if we planted today, it would be violating federal law, and we wouldn't want to do that. Or probably more importantly, it would be violating state law. We don't want to do that. I'll just start with a few things that I learned planting in Vermont last year in 2016. Row spacing. Conventional wisdom is for hemp to be, if you look on the internet, to be planted very, very close together, because if you look at even YouTube videos from European crops, fiber is often the go-to. Whoa, look at that baby millipede. Holy cow.
Centipede.
Oh, it's a centipede?
Yeah, don't touch that.
That was a bad one? Okay. But are they good? Are they earthworm-like in aeration? No.
They bite and they sting.
Okay.
Like,
They're vital to the
There's
soil.
a lot of critters in here, though. Oh my gosh.
are you serious? Is there a centipede?
Yeah.
Right there.
Well,
It's got
let
a
me see.
nice tail.
Let me see.
Striped zebra tail. Yeah, it's a baby.
You guys did a great job building the soil.
He went under
Mac
there, or
nut
she,
holes.
baby, so they can't see. They can't control their, right? So it's just like,
Huh?
the turquoise ones, I think, I've heard are more in
There's a ton of centipedes in there,
I've
but
always
it's all fine. Anyways.
Oh, right down.
So,
Oh, yeah. This one right here? Yeah, you don't want to get next to that one.
maybe like
That's the baby for real.
He's not turquoise, right?
It's fine. That's
a couple
okay.
questions about the soil.
Oh,
Thanks.
stay right over there.
So, like,
He's
these
right
critters, are they aerating like earthworms do? Like, is that, and also the mac nuts, are you growing the nuts?
So the seed drill a lot harder than other places in our acreage. So we had very patchy spots and we had very dense spots. So we ran out of time trying to get those stats. But we ended up with about, I would say, somewhere between 8,000 to 9,000 pounds of seed off of 15 acres.
Nice. And that's really not bad for a first big acreage. You had an acre the previous year, but that's first big acreage. That's like the Canadian average. Yeah, we had uneven based on how we prepped and what we did, but we got as much as 1,000 pounds of seed per acre, which is above the Canadian average, and that was when we were at those 30 inches where we got the most seed. There's trade-offs, you know. It was a pain in the butt to harvest and the fiber that way, but we got the biggest yield. And as far as soil prep, we found that hemp-liked land that hadn't been worked at all for several years did better even than previous year nitrogen fixer, like an alfalfa or something like that. Yeah, and I really, really recommend organic. It's just for a million reasons, but one of them, if you just want to stick to bottom line, it's much more valuable. Yeah, questions?
For drier climates, what type of irrigation do you use and how often do you water?
This is the first year that I have to worry about that because I'm helping the Colville tribes of Eastern Washington plant, and east of the Cascades is really hot and dry. To be honest, I'm less worried about that than the fact that in that ecosystem, it starts getting wet around harvest time, which is the last thing you want, especially for your flowers. So I'm more concerned about that because I don't think we could throw up 60 acres of rain cover. But as far as the dry goes, they're on a pivot, which is not my favorite way of doing it. They're uniquely by treaty deeded, the Colville tribes are deeded a lot of water from the Columbia River, and they have to use it. And so at first when they asked me how much water do we need, I was trying to be eco man and be like, whoa, I mean, hardly, like, let us ask you again, how much water do we need? And I was like, oh, lots. So what I'm telling the farmer that's going to be there every day is watch it, and if the seeds look dry, give it a drink. And I predicted in the hottest time of year, it would probably be about once a week. But I'll have a better answer for that later in the season.
We were getting every 5 days we were getting water on our field about 1 to 2 inches. That was
Like,
our,
fully saturating the field. pretty
Yes.
much, okay.
yeah, about 12, no, we were doing 9 hour shifts. And in that 9 hours, our sprinklers put out about 1 to 3 inches. It was
She's
a little.
she's so humble about her crop. It was, besides beautiful looking, the first minute I was in there, this guilty looking woodchuck comes dashing out of the crop with like this
Whistle
beautiful
pig.
bud. Yeah, whistle
Whistle
pig. With this like bud and its like lips running. It was like stopped, looked at us like, thanks, took off. Omega balance. Any other questions about like soil or prep or water depth or anything like that? As for varieties to grow here in Hawaii, and if people are from other places, let us know. In an ideal where we're going to assume that our legislators do the job. It sounded like Senator Ruderman was fired up yesterday. Somebody was saying that not just on his panel, but afterwards he was like, I'm going to go take care of this and fix this delay. And I was like, great, I hope you're really close friends with the governor. If all the silly restrictions are gone and any genetics, first and foremost, what I recommend is diversity of genetics. In other words, you might like the idea of what you see from like the super bushy samurai cultivar that we grew in Vermont, or you might like the idea of a cultivar coming in from Colorado that's really high in a particular cannabinoid like CBD. I would say the most important thing is to make sure you're not restricted from replanting your seeds. That's something to work hard on. And in other studies in Hawaii, 2,000 cultivars that derived from China, even though they were from different climates, different altitudes, and different phytoperiods than Hawaii, did better than the closest to tropical cultivars. And the theory on that is that some of the Chinese cultivars, because there's so much biodiversity within China, natural selection had them being good adapters. And so that's proving true. The cultivars that we grew in Vermont also grow well, already documented in Colorado and in a very wet part of, dry part of Colorado, wet part of Oregon. Mm-hmm. So we have like some confidence that will do well here.
Mm-hmm. One question. Sure. If you're using a hand seeder, what type of spacing or how much spacing would you recommend?
When the U.S. came online and had to be ordering foreign seeds a couple of seasons ago, and I just want to say, I really love kind of like New World ingenuity, like people that just aren't taking no for an answer and are going for it. Because already I believe U.S. cultivars are superior than a lot, not all, but than a lot of the established cultivars coming from Europe and Canada. But when we didn't know what we were doing and we were ordering it, I remember trying to help a Kentucky group get some seeds. The salespeople wanted you to buy 40 to 50 pounds of seed per acre. We found best results from 15 to 18 pounds per acre. I understand the reasons for planting more. If you're doing tight fiber, you might want to plant a little bit more. But we got good yields from what we did. How many pounds did you guys do?
14.
14. How
14
about
pounds per acre.
Really? Wow.
3 on the grain side.
3 on the grain side. So really widely spaced. And that field we were in?
Probably could have done more. The field you were in, I think it was like 3.5.
Wow.
So I think we probably could have done a little bit more, maybe 5 or 6.
And you guys watered on a pivot, yeah?
Everything was pivot, yeah.
How often? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
And anything else especially about dry climates that you?
We did dry. We got about a 5% outside the pivot. We got about a 40% yield.
Huh.
So on seed.
Okay.
We haven't dry farm cannabinoids yet.
And also being a dry climate, though, I mean, anything else folks should know? Like, do you agree? Just watch the plants, and if they look thirsty, give them a drink. Is there anything else you would say?
Here you probably won't have that issue, I would imagine. I think they're fine.
Yeah.
I think the
tell
issues
you.
here, depending on cultivar, you want to make sure it's not too wet when you plant, right? And the ground's not too saturated. So hemp doesn't like to drown, right? So it needs to have some freedom to breathe. So yeah, that would be the consideration here.
The other thing I'm really interested in is, I had it with me yesterday, but the roots are really famous especially for an annual to be, growing these monster taproots. And when people say hemp is phytoremediative, 90% of that, I would guess, is simply about creating the house, the home for good microbes to live, not anything that the plant is doing biochemically necessarily. Although Dr. Lee's, if you heard his speech yesterday, that was news to me. He said that now when hemp cleans up soil, it doesn't just suck it into the hemp. It breaks and transforms down toxins, including radioactive toxins, which just blew my mind. So there probably is a lot of, biochemical alchemy that is happening, but mainly what's happening is the roots pounding down and creating this beautiful home, a mansion for all the good things you want to feed your plant, because you're growing, we all know at this point, growing soil. So how does that work here when you're often building volcanic soil? I think it remains to be seen. Like, I'm really excited to see if hemp is like slowly but surely like jackhammering volcanic rock, as you guys are doing Korean natural farming and other techniques to create healthy soil. I'm really excited to watch it, and I know I speak for anybody here who's done hemp we're here to help. So just call us from the field at any time. Don't worry about the time zone. Just be like, look, we're here, and it's like they look a little bit too wet. Is there what can we do? Any other questions? I've got a question for whoever farms here. How long does it take to create like soil this dank and awesome?
Not long. She just dug that out of a box that we planted and then put cardboard over a few months. It's probably 3 months. 4 months. Drake knows more than I do even about it, but it's just been.
Those centipedes love cardboard.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you lay a bunch of cardboards for sheet mulch on the side of a wall or something somewhere, and then some rain comes and it gets wet, it attracts the centipedes, and you go to grab it to, do the sheet mulch, you might get stung.
Yikes.
Don't touch it.
Will they hurt you through gloves even?
No.
Maybe not those ones.
We sifted it for you.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like Marie Antoinette liked to walk around with the sheep, but she didn't like the smells, so they would perfume the sheet. I'm like, look at this beautiful, perfect. Wow. So here's my one other question. On maybe there are other plants that are similar in this climate, but given the fact that Hawaii has has 3 potential hemp growing seasons because it's such a short, it's a bridge crop, 100 days average. The fact that at different times of year your phyto periods close to the equator are close, but you do have winter and summer kind of, right? So is there going to be an issue if you're planting a large scale outdoor crop at certain times of year with plants going into flower stage when you don't want them to? That can happen. So what could you do? Could you supplement light in a greenhouse on a large acreage on like 20-50 acres? Seems like that's something to think about.
I wonder if the wet season would be too wet.
I've heard that it is too wet, to really do it on a big scale during the wet season.
Yeah, I would probably do it the winter.
Dry this year, but there's sometimes where it literally will rain 2 inches an hour for a whole day or 2 or 3. It's dumping here.
Wow.
So it's
greenhouse.
Yeah, or at least covering, some kind of.
That's one of the next steps for us is to have greenhouse space so that we can start controlling that a little bit more.
Awesome. I can't wait till the first hemp is planted here. As you said, it's a victory plant and a healing plant. Holy cow. Any other questions? Because I'm really eager to see one of your guys' active fields if there's time.
Sure.
But any other hemp related questions? We're all here if you need us. Cool. Thanks for having us.